I wanted to make one more money video because in recent years it's becoming more and more important that people learn how to save money correctly. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I believe the radical idea that you should save by actually owning something of value. Hardly anyone saves this way anymore. Most people have been conditioned to save by owning pieces of paper that are promising them things. And if you want to get a general understanding of how our monetary system works, you can look at my other videos, and my book goes into a lot more detail. But even when people understand how the system works and understand how to save money, they still rarely do it correctly. And that's because we've been conditioned from a very young age, continually, to save money the wrong way. We're constantly told that you shouldn't save money by owning something of value. You should save money by putting your paper in a bank or giving your paper to the government or buying stocks. Now, who does this benefit? This benefits the banking industry, big government, and corporations. So of course they've been telling you your entire life to save money this way. And the amazing thing is that even when people understand how the system works, it's very difficult to overcome this lifetime of conditioning, especially when everyone around you believes an incorrect idea. If you go to 95 out of 100 Americans and tell them they should buy precious metals and save money by owning something of value, they think that's a bizarre idea because they've never heard anyone in the media tell them to do this. They've never seen any of their friends doing this. They've been fully conditioned to give their money to banks and to corporations and to the government. But the even more incredible thing is, if you go to the 2 or 3% of the people that actually understand how the monetary system works, they still continue to give their money to banks and to corporations. Look at what these industries are telling you through their media outlets. They're telling you you should take your savings and deposit it with corporations in the form of stock, or deposit it with the banking industry in CDs, or deposit it with big government through bonds. They've actually convinced everyone to do this. And then a few people do buy precious metals, but they're told, you don't really want to own the precious metals yourself. You want to put your money into the stock of a mining company. Or you want to own precious metals through some fund where they're theoretically on deposit in Europe somewhere, and your deposit can be tracked and taxed, and you can be sued, and it can be taken away at any time. It would be crazy to own precious metals yourself. And so everybody gives all of their power, all of their money, to the very entities which are repressing them, to large government, corporations, and the banking industry. I'm not even saying take your money out of those investments as some type of a protest. I'm saying take your money out of those investments so that you stop actively giving up a percentage of your savings to subsidize those entities. Two of the biggest groups of intelligent videos I see on YouTube are by the atheists and by the Ron Paul supporters. And I always think of these in relationship to investing and saving, because the atheists are always complaining how religion oppresses people and steals money from people, which has been true in much of history. We all laugh at how people used to be brainwashed into buying indulgences from the Catholic Church, for example. And yet, in my opinion, that was a relatively subtle scam. I mean, you can't disprove that if you don't buy an indulgence, you won't get into heaven. And yet we laugh and think it's silly because that people used to do this. Well, if everybody in society believed this and was brainwashed into doing this, it's really hard to disprove, and it's almost understandable that people would fall for that scam. Yet look at the central banking industry scam. Everybody buys into this, and yet it's so transparent. Even a child can see that this industry creates money out of nothing and keeps part of that money. Even a child can see that that is intuitively illogical and works against you. The Ron Paul supporters too. Nobody's a bigger Ron Paul supporter than me. But you don't need Ron Paul to save you from the central banking industry. If half of Ron Paul's supporters actually woke up and bought silver or platinum tomorrow, it would collapse our currency tomorrow. There's not enough silver and platinum out there to sustain that kind of demand. And that's really the only way this scam will end one day, when enough people in society wake up and stop participating in believing paper money has value, and they immediately buy precious metals, and that'll be the end of the banking industry's ability to inflate the currency. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, though, this topic is particularly relevant right now because the currency is inflating quicker than ever, and it's been an accelerating trend for at least 2 or 3 years. So now is a better time than ever to detach yourself from this mass delusion that's subtly stealing your money. And that's really all there is to saving money. It's not a complicated topic, although the media would have you believe otherwise. Now, since hopefully this is one of my last money videos, I wanted to clear up a couple other things. First, let me talk briefly about speculation or playing the markets, because so many people are intensely interested in this and there's so many videos and articles out there about it. I don't think that many people will succeed at speculating. It's basically gambling, and not many people succeed as professional gamblers. It's a lot easier to earn money in some other way that you enjoy, and some other way that's more productive to society. However, since I have been fortunate and succeeded as a speculator over the years, I'll give some basic advice for people that still want to try it. First of all, I would really suggest that you never speculate with more than you can afford to lose, because then you're going to be subject to fear, and fear and greed are what drive the markets, and if you are subject to fear and greed, you'll almost always lose. Secondly, any system of gambling is generally very complex, and I could never cover it in a 10-minute video, or even by talking all day about my own system, much less the thousands of other systems out there. You really just have to develop your own system based on your own unique knowledge and your own skills. But most importantly, just don't confuse speculating with saving. If you're worried that your savings are going to be depleted or gaining based on what the Federal Reserve does or what the stock market's doing, then you're not saving anymore. You're speculating with your savings now, and that's not a good idea. Lastly, there's another important topic that I wanted to cover, because in a lot of my videos I've talked about investing in precious metals, and I've used gold as an example. However, personally, I don't really feel that gold is an ethical investment, and I have, over the years, gradually gotten away from it. I'm going to do a video on ethics in the future. I feel that ethics is a really important topic, and that ultimately when you do something unethical, either as an investor or any other time in life, it works against you in the end. It takes a lot of resources and does a lot of environmental damage to pull gold out of the ground, and the other precious metals have important industrial uses, whereas gold is mostly just an ostentatious display of wealth. And I think ultimately that will work against gold, and you already see this gradually as platinum pulls further and further ahead of gold, partially due to the fact that platinum has more and more industrial uses, whereas only 10% of gold is used for anything in any actual industrial use. Now, of course, every commodity, including metals, has its own fundamentals, which are far too complex to go into in a video, but all the precious metals are basically tied together, and you get the same benefits from investing in any of them. So I prefer not to invest in gold. Personally, I think that long-term platinum is as good a precious metal to invest in as any. So that's really all I had to say about money. If you just understand this one video, you'll understand more than 90-something% of the people out there, and then you can move on to much more important topics in life.